Hello and welcome to the show. So you want to be a gambler 2022. I am your co-host, Miss Andrea. This is our year-end holiday show entitled Old School Vegas. That's right. And our special guest is author, professional gambler, and sports handicapper, Mr. John Patrick. Hey, guess what? So John's going to share some interesting stories from back in the early days in Vegas. Shh, only you can hear it. And you get to ask him all the questions you want. And without further ado, your host of the evening, the G-Man, G Craps, the author of Platinum Craps and Dice Setting book from Las Vegas, the gambling capital of the world. Give it up for Garrison!
Hey, thank you, Miss Andre. Welcome, guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. You know, we know it's a cold winter back east, so hey, guys, it's all my friends in Ohio and Michigan. Don't slip on the ice. All right, we're going to have an interesting show tonight. John's going to have some great stories. We're going to answer all your questions. We got a couple people checking in. Hello, Skill and Luck. We thank you for that. So anyways, like I said, we had a pretty good year. We met a lot of great people. We talked to a lot of people on different Facebook groups and YouTube groups. I think we opened up over 100 new members that became Platinum Craps Super System members with John's book, and we're going to give you an opportunity to get a discount for the holidays for that. So we want to thank everybody that emailed us and texted us, and just all the comments, all the people that went on Amazon. Thank you very much. We also want to thank the Gamblers Bookstore. They've been great to us over the year. They push the book on Amazon. They get a lot of orders, and they ship out right away. So we want to thank them for that. In fact, let's bring in John right now. I want to just make sure he's on the phone and say hello to him. John, are you there?
Well, I'm here.
All right.
Oh, I like that introduction.
Well, you're the man, John. You're the man. You deserve it. So, he's all the way from Florida where it's nice and warm, not like back east. So we just want to make sure John's on the phone. He's going to be taking questions. Skill and Luck says everybody loves John Patrick. I certainly agree with that. Yeah, they love you, John. All right. So we're going to come back to John in a few minutes. And just wanted to make sure he's on the line. So anyways, we started the show So You Want to Be a Gambler 2022 about a year ago. And the goal of the show was to help both new and old players become better players. Play for more money, play for a higher ROI. We did some shows on that. If you missed any of the shows, just go up to your search bar and type in some of the shows. The first show we did was The Truth About Dice Setting. And we had some interesting comments about it. A lot of people learned what they call the inside access numbers. As you know, each set of dice has two inside access numbers. Each set has 14 combinations, etc. That's all you can get. And there's only two numbers you can put together. We have the A side and the B side. You can also turn it around and go B and A. You can also go AA or BB. But anyways, a lot of people enjoyed that show. We did have some comments from people that said, well, I've got a spreadsheet that has 300, 400, 576 sets. I found that a little interesting. In fact, I couldn't figure out how they did that. So if anybody wants to come on the show next year and explain how they came up with 576 sets, please do, because both Andre and I would like to know how that works. In fact, you know what? It's the holidays. I'm going to start off with a promotion right off. Later on in the show, we're going to be giving out some dice setting cards. I'm going to give you 5 dice setting cards. These give you the numbers 2 through 12 across the top, how many ways you can make each number, the inside access numbers for each set, and how many ways you can make each number. We said earlier in one of our shows, there's 3 ways for the 6, there's 3 ways for the 8, there's 2 ways for the 4, 5, 9, and 10, and there's 2 ways for the 7. So you can put the odds in your favor. And that was one of our first shows. So stick around. We are going to give away 5 new dice setting cards. And you know what? It's the holidays. I'm in a good mood. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. A lot of people did ask us about the Super System. Let me see if I can put it up. That's where you get either one of John's books, the beginning book, or the advanced book. You also get the Platinum Craps book. I'm going to give everybody who's looking in, or up till Christmas, if you go on the website, which is platinumcraps.com, I think we have that somewhere, but you can just go on platinumcraps.com. If you order a Super System, I'm going to give everybody additional 10% off. You just fill out the order, and that includes 10% off shipping. So when we get the order, the girls in the office will just take 10% off your order, and we'll send you the correct receipt when we run your credit card. So now's a great time to really step up to the plate. You know, jump into the Super System. You get 2 books. You get 5 dice setting strategy cards. You get the flash drive that has 5 hours of instruction. I mean, it's our complete package. So we're really proud of it. John and I put it together, and we wanted people to have the best information they could have. So for the people that were looking for a special deal, the whole system costs less than you're buying. All right, so we're going to give you 10% off of that. Okay. Then we did a show called Casino Math versus Real Math, and this got into things like the Big Four and the Little Three, and where to place your bets so you get a higher return on investment, not worry so much about Casino Edge. In fact, one of our biggest shows we just did a couple months ago, I'm going to get into that. Then we went into the don't side of the table. We did a show called All Right Bettors Die Broke. And let me see. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. There's the dice setting chapter. We talked about dice setting. Then we also did All Right Bettors Die Broke. And let's see, where was that? I think it was on page 38. You know, 50% of the time, there it is, 50% of the time the table comes up due, 50% of the time it comes up due. You have to learn to play on both sides of the table. So we did a whole show to help people explain how betting on the don't side could be to your advantage. And that's kind of important. Okay. Then we did a show called Lady Luck, Are You Lucky? And that talked about energy of the table and timing. You know, when people say good luck, they really are saying, we hope you have good timing at the table and you roll a lot of numbers. So timing is good luck. Okay. Probably the most interesting show was a show we just did, I guess, two months ago. I forget myself. It was called The 10 Top Myths in Craps. You can go up to your search bar, type in the 10 Top Myths. We got a lot of comments on that. And we took a lot of the books that were out there, including our book. We showed people some of the things that were correct, some of the things that weren't correct. As you know, I always teach with a calculator, so I have a calculator with me. We can always work things out mathematically and tell you what the exact return is on investment. What's the best bet for you? You know, it's not necessarily what you read in all the other books. So we kind of broke that down. We got into come bets and place bets and all that. So if you haven't seen that show, type in the 10 Top Myths. We had a couple special guests on the show. We brought on, because we always like to bring in other people. We had Mr. Charlie Fair. He was the author of Casino Fun 101. Nice, great little book to read before you go to the casinos. Gets into a lot of things that you should learn as a player before you walk up to the table. We also were able to help get him into the Gambler's Bookstore, so I know that book's available on Amazon now and at the Gambler's Bookstore. We also had on Anthony Curtis. He's the gentleman that does the Las Vegas Advisor. Great newsletter, guys. If you travel to Vegas, you have to check out LasVegasAdvisor.com. He also has his savings book with all kinds of savings. I used a lot of these in here for food and drinks. They also give you match play, anywhere from 10 to as high as 25%. You put down the coupon with your money, and now you've got 2 bets. One is courtesy of Anthony Curtis. So, you know, we're glad to have those authors on, and we hope to have people on next year as well. The thing we liked about the best is that people contacted us and said how they learned some new things by watching the show. And like I said, if you missed any of the shows, you can go up to your search bar, the 10 Top Myths and Craps, Casino Math, all these other shows. We did add a lot of new people that bought the Super System. I was just going over some of the figures the other day, and it looks like over 100 people became super members, Platinum Craps super members. And a lot of these people were just getting into the game. They were just starting. But by reading the books and watching the videos, they just became better and better players. So that's what we're most thankful for. And that's why we wanted to put the show on for people. So satisfaction is probably our biggest reward. And we thank everybody that took time out to study and get back to us. Okay. I have to give a shout out to a gentleman who came all the way from California to visit me in Las Vegas. His name's Jeff Seaver. He has Jeff's craptables.com. He builds tables. And I had a table and I put a new cover on it, a Platinum Craps cover, because it had an old cover from the Riviera. I asked Jeff if he would make a tabletop for it, because I have it down in the dining room and my girlfriend doesn't like the table, but she wants to serve dinner. So I had him made a table for it. I mentioned him at the last show, but I did a video and unfortunately we weren't able to load the video. So I'm just going to play a little bit of thanking Jeff. He's going to talk about the table he made for us, and you'll get a little idea of what he does. He does great work, so I'll be right back in a few minutes.
Hi, and welcome to Garrison Platinum Craps Casino here in the great state of Nevada.
All right, so
and I'm here to show off and deliver
How we doing
one of
so
my
far?
tabletops that I built for Garrison here. And it sits on top of his 8-foot craps tables, and that's what I generally make, but I make this as an addition add-on to any order. And I'm just really pleased as punch to be here, and I can't wait to get down and take his money and go down gambling, right?
Yeah.
Here we go, first roll.
All right.
Look at that. Softy.
All right, so here's the tabletop he made. Tell us about the wood and the different
All right, to get the span, it's oak plywood. It's oak topped plywood. It's a 5-layer, and it's finished. Has 4 different layers of varnish on it. And then we have poplar in the center as the span, the leaf part, and then the center stripe is solid oak. And
Don't count that.
so Garrison wanted it so they could set it up as a party tabletop when he has parties here, and then pull it down real quick and enjoy the game of craps.
Well, we're going to actually turn it into a dining room table. I'm going to get a really nice custom-made cover for the
nice
table. Then we can do a place setting and really make it look like a dining room.
Inside the chip racks sits evenly, just like this tabletop, but it's in. You can put on roulette or 21 poker. If you're into backgammon, and I just recently did one that had Grand Hazard layout and Diana layout, which are two 1800s game, and Grand Hazard actually was the grandfather of craps.
All right, so I just wanted to give you guys, hang on, we're on. I just wanted to give you a little clip of what Jeff did. He did great work. I mean, the table looks great, the top's great. We put a nice tablecloth over it. So if you want to get a hold of him, he's at Jeff's crapstables.com. He's on vacation until January 4th, but he builds tables from scratch, the whole table. He does tops like I just showed you. He does inserts for blackjack and roulette, anything you want. And his prices are really reasonable, and he does quality work, and that's what I really look for. So a round of applause for Jeff. We thank Jeff. All right, I think it's time to bring back the man himself. All right. If you guys don't pay attention, you lose out. All right, because John doesn't pull any punches. So, John, are you there? We're bringing you back on to say hello.
Still here.
All right, the man, the myth, one of the top authors in gambling, the man who wrote the the two best books in craps. Either the basic book, which everybody should have, and then for the more advanced players, you get the 600-page book. And later on, we're going to give everybody options to do that. So, John, we've got some people that are calling in and asking some questions. And I think, we had a really rewarding year, John, and a lot of it was due to you. You coming on the show, asking questions, letting people know who you were. Because a lot of these millennials, they weren't around during your television show back in the day. So we just want to thank you for coming on and working with all these people that are on the Facebook show with us, or the YouTube show. So thank you for that.
No, I like talking to these people. And if we can help them, Gar, I mean, it is possible to win at gambling, but you're not going to break the bank. You're not going to break the casino. But it is possible to find it. I'm a grinder. I'll admit. I'm not a big $10,000 bettor or $15,000. I am not. I'm a grinder. I make a living. I've been doing it since Christ was an altar boy. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the thrill of gambling, but I also, if I see I'm losing, I go back and hedge my bet, wipe it off the board, and worry about tomorrow. That's what you got to do. But we'll get into that as we get to questions.
Well, that's the key. People have to know that the players should play the short game because the long game belongs to the casino. You want to get in, get out. I mean, if anybody knows John's formula, it's the big four and the little three. Knowledge, bankroll, money management, discipline, the big four. Then the little three, theory, how to play. Logic, play logical. We did that whole show where we tell you, all this house big is crap. You want to get a day's pay, and of course trends. You're looking for the trends of the table. Is it hot? Is it cold? There's 4 types of tables. The hot table where everyone's rolling numbers, everyone's favorite. The don't table where you can make money if you know how to play on the don't, and a lot of people don't. The choppy table where it goes back and forth. That's one of the hardest tables to play at, and of course what I call the torpedo table, where no matter where you put your money, it comes up opposite. We've all been to those kind of tables. You're just not in sync. The Orientals call it chi. It's positive energy. We did that show, Lady Luck, Are You Lucky? We talk about that. So you got to start with the big four, the little three. Look for a day's pay. If you follow John's advice, you're going to have a possibility of winning more money at the tables. In fact, you know what, John? Miss Andrea, she has a question for you that she's been dying to ask. So we're going to turn it over to Miss Andrea. Andrea.
Am I muted?
All yours.
John. So I'm unmuted, right? Yes.
Anita.
Okay.
Andrea.
Yes. So, okay, everybody wants to know, how did you get into gambling? But I really want to know, how did you become an author? So the first question is, everybody wants to know, how did you become a gambler? But then how did you become author? Like, how did you get into gambling is the main question.
I like I said, I've been gambling since I was in the grammar school, Andrea.
You naughty boy. Naughty boy. Just kidding.
No, they used to have these tickets. If you pick 4 winners, with the real line in it, like suppose the Jets were playing the Giants, and the Giants were favored by 8 points. Well, you have to pick 4 of those games, and you've got to get all correct. And they give you $10 for $1. But when you're fighting the house has the upper hand because you try to pick 4 games in a day. I bet every single solitary day from grammar school, and I have never missed a day of gambling. When I was in Korea in 1952 and 1953, that's not a place you want to visit. But when I came back, New Jersey was just in the process of getting gambling. I'm from Jersey, but I live here in Florida now, and the casino in Jersey was 2 hours away. I would take with me $3,000. So you see, I'm not a big gambler. And I would break the $3,000 into three $1,000 tables, Andrea. And I'd go to the first table and set a win goal. You're not going to believe it, but the win goal was 10%. Once I got to 10%, I would break the $100 profit in half and play now with $50. You're going to say, "Oh, you're not a gambler." You try going into the casino and using a discipline. Like Gary just said a couple of minutes ago, the four things you need when you get into a casino is bankroll. That's the amount of money you take to the casino. Bankroll knowledge. You got to know the game inside out. Money management. What do you bet when you win, and what do you bet when you lose? And bankroll knowledge, money management, and discipline. And you got to have the brains and the guts to quit when you win a certain amount. So I would bring, like I said, $3,000 to the table. And as I continued to win, I would increase the amount of my bet. If I brought 12,000, I'd go to three different tables with 4,000 each, and set a win goal 10% and a loss limit of 50%. If I lost more than 50%, then I shouldn't be gambling. So, Andrea, I enjoy it. I enjoy the thrill of walking on the edge. But I am not what people would say, "Oh man, he's a professional." I never had a job.
Right.
I'm going to be 91.
Happy birthday!
What?
Happy early birthday!
Huh?
Happy
Happy
early,
birthday.
yeah. Happy birthday!
How did you get into writing, John?
Happy
What gave you the opportunity to start writing books? Because you ended up with 15 books plus the forward for our book, but you had a great run on writing books. How did that all start?
I had to ride 2.5 hours to get to Atlantic City from where I lived in West Orange, New Jersey. So I had nothing to do, and I went to the casino 4 days a week. That's a long ride, 2.5 hours down and 2.5 hours back. So I used to take a box and put it on the passenger side. And I would drive along, and I had a pad on top of the box with my right elbow. And I would drive on the slow lane of the Garden State Parkway, and I would write a book. I would write a chapter, of the book. And I'd start, and I would put the notes down, and turn the book over to my mother. My mother. She lived to be 2 weeks shy of 100. So you get an idea of how long she lived.
God bless
And
her.
she could read my writing, which is horrible. But she would then type it, and I would give it to a book publisher, and they would publish the books. I worked for Kensington. I worked for Carroll Publishing, and I was the number one author in their gambling books because I said what was on my mind, and I never changed it. So if I was driving down 2 hours, I would write one chapter. And coming home, put the light on in my car, and write another chapter.
How
And
did John? How did
the
you?
end of a month.
How did you submit to?
Go ahead, Andrea.
How did you submit to the publisher? Did your mom know them? Did you have a connection? Did you network? What did you do?
No, they contacted me.
Oh, how did they get to know you?
See, I had
show.
Oh, it's for the
okay,
TV
one
show.
day in January of 1981, it was snowing out.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andrea, you couldn't see. It was just a terrible storm. Well, there was a show on television called Time In. It was done by a fella. I just forget his name right now. It'll come to me, but I forget his name. It was on every Thursday night, and he talked about gambling and sports. And every week he'd bring on Mickey Mantle or Joe DiMaggio or Eddie Stanky or Sal Magri. He'd always bring on a star from the sports world. I watched his show every Thursday night, but this one night it was snowing, and he called me. And I knew him because I pitched fast pitch softball. I pitched until I was 82 years old. Then I gave it up. And I won over 2,000 games, fast pitch. And he knew me because he used to try to bat against me. And I would go on. He asked me, would you come on my show to be my guest? I said, me? I never was on radio or television in my life.
See, everybody loves you.
I had to cover an hour, and banks can't make it. Would you come? The phone never stopped ringing. And people called in and asked question after question. The show called So You Want to Be a Gambler, shot right to the #1 spot. And we sold books. Now, I don't have the writing skill of Platinum Craps. I mean, Gary does a fantastic job. I am not a dice setter. I don't dice set. And in fact, I never touch the dice. When the dice come to me, I pass them. If I'm betting wrong, well, I'm surely not going to throw the dice and bet wrong. And if I'm betting right, I want the 6 and 8 every single solitary time. So by bypassing the come-out roll, and if the point is 4 or 5 or 9 or 10, I don't want those numbers. I want the 6 and the 8. So by bypassing the come-out roll, I place the 6 and the 8. And if I'm betting right, and I win the day, the next day I bet right. If I win that day, I bet right. If I win that day, I bet right. If I lose, I swing over and start betting wrong, because I might be in a streak of getting right and wrong, and I have to protect me a loss limit. And I would give my notes to my mother. My mother would type it out so people could read it, and I'd give it to the publisher. The publisher was Carroll Publishing Company. He owned his own publishing company, and another one was Kensington Publishing. If any of you people out there are writing a book, you can get your book published if you can get a way to get people. And I had a TV show, and it was so simple. And I know gambling. I know it inside out, and I have the discipline to get up and walk out. There are some days I drive 2 hours to Atlantic City, and I couldn't find a table that was going in the direction I wanted to go in, either right or wrong. I'd get in my car and come back home and not make a bet. Oh, I'd stay in the casino for 3 or 4 hours. There were 10 casinos down there. So gambling is very easy. For any of you people that are listening in, it is not hard to win at gambling, but you can't go for the kill. You got to grind it. I come home with 10%, and when I get to a 10% profit, I break it in half, and I can never touch the first half. And the second half, I play until I lose that. And every time I win a session, I break that in half. If I win $28, I put 14 and 14. If I win 120, I put 60 and 60. 60 is in the portion I can never touch again. So once I get ahead, I'm home.
All right,
I didn't
John.
want to bore you with all that, but gambling is not hard, Andrea.
John, what we've got is we got a couple of viewers here that want to ask you specific questions. And by the way, guys, some of that stuff that John talked about, plus other stuff, is in John's chapter that he wrote about. He was kind enough to write 2 chapters in the book. So You Want to Be a Gambler Part 1, So You Want to Be a Gambler Part 2, and he wrote the foreword. And John, I thank you a million times for that. All right, yeah. So I'm going to have Miss Andrea ask the questions. Let me take this off. And here's a question from.
So the first is skill and luck question. How big of an extra hedge?
Well, that's for dice setting. I'll answer that.
Oh,
one.
okay.
So let's
So-
go to this one. Dirt.
Thank you.
you
Okay,
just
so Dirt Buzzard wants to know, Mr. Patrick, would you have chips ready so not to interfere with shooter by using cash if you felt like you needed to get into the game when charting a table? Does that make sense?
Oh, I know what he's meaning. He doesn't want to buy in the middle of the roll, John. So what he's saying is, would you have some chips available so if a roll is going on, instead of putting cash down and buying in, you could just get into the game by putting chips on the table? It's a sly way of getting into the game without asking the dealer to cash in your money. Do you understand what he said, John?
No, not really, but the thing is, I would chart a table, but I would never get in on the. Let's suppose I was betting right, and this guy had made 4 consecutive passes. Would I buy in? Because you could buy in at any time. And would I buy in and then get into his roll? No, I would wait till his roll is over, and then. But I don't just base getting into at a table on one shooter. I want to see 3 shooters. I want 2 of those 3 to make passes if I'm betting right that day, because I know what I'm going to do when I walk into a casino. I'm either looking for a cold table, and then I'm betting wrong, or I'm predetermined to bet a right better. But I don't get in on the middle of a roll. I think that's what he was
Yeah,
asking.
that's it. All right, so DB, what he's saying, what's John saying is he's going to be charting the table. He's going to wait for his move, and then when the puck is in the don't come box, which is we suggest, then he's going to buy in. All right, let's go to.
Skill and luck.
Here you go, Miss Andrea. You asked John this question.
Okay, so the question is there any advice that John would give to craps dealer who plays craps at other casinos that they don't work at?
John, this guy wants to know if
Do
you.
that all the time.
Yeah, if you were a craps dealer and you want to play craps, but you can't play at your other casinos, I mean, I'm sure it's the big 4, the little 3, same as you'd always play. But is there any tips you would give a craps dealer who wants to play craps?
So they know he's a craps. They're like, oh, hey, wait, you work at Caesar's Palace. You're a craps player dealer there. So how would you handle that? Like, without the drama, I
You
suppose?
mean the craps dealer playing in his own casino?
No, in
You
another
can't do
casino.
that.
In another casino.
casino.
Another casino.
I missed the question, but no, a dealer cannot play in his casino ever.
Right.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give a craps dealer that goes to another casino?
Another
Because
casino.
people in Vegas, as you know, they're like, well, hey, he's that craps dealer that works at Caesar's Palace.
Well, hey,
So-
in today's world, who asked that question? Skill and luck.
Skill and
Hey,
luck.
skill and luck. In today's world, you could always go drag. They're not even going to know. You know, just dress up like Miss Andrea, walk in and play as much as you want. But anyways, let's see here. Dice Grinders is saying hello to John. So I will get back to some questions.
Here's a
Let's see, what do we want to get into here? I've got a question for you, John. I don't know if anybody has ever read this book, this magazine. It was the #1 magazine for gambling. It's called Casino Player. It's based out of Atlantic City. John was a contributing author for Casino Player for many years. And he was really good friends with Adam Fine, who has passed away, but he was the original publisher. John, do you have any stories about when you were writing with Casino Player?
Hey, Garrett, did Fine die?
Yeah, he died. He passed away, and I think let's see, they still put him as editor in chief, but somebody else took it over. But they still dedicate the book to Adam Fine. But he passed away. Well, in this issue, Lisa Robinson is the creative director, but they have a different publisher, a different editor. But Adam Fine was the original, and I know you were friends with him.
I know.
So I just wanted to know if you had any stories back in the Casino Player days, because you can still get this book. Anyways, there's one story that you and I talked about, and I advertised this on Facebook, so I have to ask it. You were friends with a lot of celebrities, and I know you met Robert Mitchum and Telly Savalas and a lot of people. You did movies, you did your television show. Can you tell the viewers about the story about Robert Mitchum and Marilyn Monroe when they were doing the movie River of No Return?
Years ago, I play poker every night. Right now, I'm 90 years old, and I play poker with guys that are so much younger than me, 30, 40 years younger. And we talk about movies. Well, anyway, a lot of these guys don't talk during the game. Nobody talks anything other than the game, what they're going to do, because they don't want to give away a tell. A tell is when you make a move, like a guy gets a queen dealt to him, and the first thing he does is look around the table to see how many queens are out. I mean, he's telling the other people he's looking for something. The queen of spades, is he looking for queens? Is he looking for spades? Is he looking for a straight? I know just what to do to watch that guy when I see him looking around the table. And you'll see a lot of professional gamblers playing poker. They wear dark glasses. Well, anyway, one night, one of the guys, it was a regular crowd that I played poker with, and out when I was up in New Jersey. And we were down in a casino, and they were talking about movies. And one night they brought in Robert Mitchum. I don't know about you younger guys, really young, but Robert Mitchum was what is called a hunk. He always played the bad guy in a casino. And he made a movie one time called River of No Return with Marilyn Monroe. Now, Marilyn Monroe was, when I was in Korea, Marilyn Monroe's picture, a red background with a naked Marilyn in every single tent on the on our in my division. Everybody loved Marilyn Monroe, so they brought in Robert Mitchum one day, who was a movie star, and he was making a movie, River of No Return. I think Dvorak was the director, but anyway, one of the scenes he had. A guy came into his farm where Robert Mitchum in the movie lived with his son. And one day a man pulled up and a girl. And they only had one horse. So while they were there, the guy, the bad guy, wanted another horse. But Robert Mitchum invited him into his house and everything else. And the next morning, he came out and he slammed Mitchum on the head, knocked him out, and stole his horse. Well, they heard the Indians coming, and Mitchum took the girl, because the guy left the girl there, Marilyn Monroe. He said, I'll meet you down in such and such a city, and he took Mitchum's horse, because his horse was lame by that time. And he took off because the Indians were coming. So they got on the river, and they started going down the river, and they stopped at nighttime on the way down to this particular town they wanted to get to, and they were sleeping. And the scene had it where she got up out of, where she was sleeping in her blanket, and went over to where the boat was tied, and was trying to unleash the boat to leave Mitchum and his son there, and she was going to take off on him, Marilyn Monroe. So the scene had it where they got into an argument, they got into a wrestling match, and he knocked her down and fell on top of her. And this did not count in the script. But Marilyn Monroe was there, they were yelling and screaming at each other, and he sat right across from me in the poker game, and he says, hey, what would you do if you were laying on top of Marilyn Monroe, and you were supposed to just talk to her about, don't you do that again, or I'll leave you here for the Indians. He said, I kissed her. And she kissed me back.
Absolutely.
We kissed and kissed and kissed. And the director screamed at him, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be kissing her. He said, would you turn down kissing Marilyn Monroe? He said, that's not the point. The movie is, we want you to argue all the way down to the town where you'd get together. You ruined the whole idea of the script. I said, if you take it out, I walk off the set. I won't do it. And Mitchum would do that. He would walk off the set. They left it in. And it was one of the most talked about scenes with Marilyn Monroe laying on the ground, Robert Mitchum on top of her, and him kissing and kissing and kissing her. And Dvorak, or whoever the director was, so mad because he gave away the end of the show. And of course, at the end of the movie, River of No Return, they end up together. She was singing in a nightclub. He walked in. When she was done singing, he walked over to the stage, threw her over his back, took her outside, put her up on a horse and wagon with his son, and they drove drove off. And she said, "Where you taking me? Where you taking me?" "Home," he said. And she took her shoes out, and they drove off.
Yeah.
Mitchum said, "Holy mackerel." The director was so mad because he kissed Marilyn Monroe before it was time.
Well-
He said, "I don't care if I lost a job.
You
I was
got-
going to kiss Marilyn Monroe."
You got to take your opportunities. I mean, that's a great story. John, I'm going to play a part of a clip from one of your TV shows. I know you had So You Want to Be a Gambler. A lot of people have never seen these shows. But before I do that, there's a question here on dice setting. If I can find it, I think it's from. I got to go back. Oh, there it is. From Skill and Luck. So let me answer this real quick. It says, question, how big of an extra hedge does no 5, no 9, no 5 dice set of a 6-2 give on lay bets? Well, okay, first of all, Skill and Luck, you know I like to use inside access numbers. So you're putting the 6-2, 6-2 on top. I see what you're doing. But in reality, that's really it's probably the 4-4 is your inside access numbers. That's what you want. So if you have the 4-4 or the 4-3 as your inside access numbers, you can't roll a 5, and you can't roll a 9. I did a chapter in my book. I hope you have the book. It's called Garrison's Super Come Out Set. Let me see if I can come back in here for you and talk to you. Okay, yeah, so in the book I did the Garrison Super Come Out Set, and I explained that you're using that set on the come out roll, either the 4-3 or you have it as the 4-4. You can't roll a 5 or a 9, so you can go 31 no 5, 31 no 9. I also like to hedge the horn bets on the come out roll as a hedge against my pass line bet. And you can't roll a 5 or a 9, so it's a great hedge. But there's a lot more into it. Please read that chapter in the book. It's called Garrison Super Come Out Set. I had a couple people call me or text me and said they're starting to use that set on the come out roll. And they have been hedging the 5 and 9 or laying the 5 and 9. So I hope that answers the question. So what I'm going to do is I want to play a little bit of one of John's TV shows, okay? And I got to cue this up, guys, so it's a little tricky because we have all of his shows from DVDs. John's friend, who by the name of Walter, who used to live in, I think it was New Jersey, when he was back in New Jersey and John was doing his shows, he would tape them all on DVD. Well, he gave me all of his DVDs. Well, DVDs, those days are over, so I had to transpose a lot of them onto flash drive, which we can use in the show. So I've got to cue this up. Give me a chance, because I've got to put it about 20 minutes into the show. This is talking about John's Patrick system. Some people call it the do-don't system. It benefits the don't players. So the gentleman that just asked that first question, Skill and Luck, this may help you on the don't side. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a clip from John Patrick back in the day on So You Want to Be a Gambler, and give me a second to just to
mention my name, but the rooms are packed right now. The best you can do is from the middle of November through December. So if you got any plans to go down, in the next couple of weeks, I believe they're filled. You might just get an obsolete day that you could pick up a deal. But if you're going to be going down at the end of November or all through December, call that number. Take advantage of the rooms. A girl called me the other day. I honestly forget the town, but she went down and she stayed in the Atrium Towers. Swear to God. She said, my God, she said, I listened to you for a whole year talking about it. She said, we finally went down and took advantage of it. I think it was $54. She said, the most gorgeous room she's ever stayed in. If you're going to go down, ask for the Atrium Towers, okay?
Let's go to Montclair right now. Our next call is from Bruce. And Bruce, what's your question for John?
Hello, John.
Hey, Bruce.
I use your system, and I find it's fantastic. And I'm playing the don't
Which one?
pass.
They're all fantastic.
I know.
Which one?
Listen, on the don't pass, though.
Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Go.
I do what you say. I've been doing what you said, place the bet on the don't pass, and then when the number comes in, put down the odds.
Okay.
I just keep hating losing part of the bet all the time when it comes through, and being paid less than I put up. So what I've been doing is I've been just, instead of saying put $25 on the don't pass, I've been putting 50 on it, 25 through the don't come. Then I take 25 off the don't pass.
Now, hey, what you're doing wrong, Bruce, here's, if you walked up to the table, by the way, how much did you take to this particular table to allow yourself to put $50 on the don't pass?
1,500.
1,500. All right, so you are playing on the don't pass for $50. What could beat you?
The 7-Eleven.
Right. So why don't you bet both ways at the same time, put $1 on the 12. There isn't a number in the whole world that can beat you. Nothing. Now what you do, after the point becomes, like suppose the point becomes a 10. Now what you do, you lay the odds against the 10, play the hard 10, and come through the don't come for 1/2 of the lay. I got to run out. Bruce, real quick. Bet both ways at the same time. You could go 50 and 50.
Right.
Now, after the point's established, if it's a 10, you lay the odds against the 10. You lay 100 against the 10, put $10 on the hard 10, and come through the don't come for $50. You can't get beat by the 7. Gotta go. Okay, Bruce?
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I'd like to thank all.
All right, well, that was just a little part of his TV show. And by the way, what John was talking about gets deeper into the super system. Like I said, you've got the beginning book, 300 to 350 pages. The advanced, the green book, which is called the Holy Grail, approximately 600 pages. And all the clips, all the classes are now on flash drive. So it's a great way to learn. The chapters are real short, 3 to 4 pages, then you can watch the clip. And my sister's already, she's done the, or my little niece, excuse me, she went through the beginning class. She's just finished the intermediate class. Now she's going to be getting into advanced and super. And she's only 10 years old, but she's got a good hand for numbers. So that'll really help you. And by the way, we took John's old DVDs, and we have his classes on roulette, beginning and advanced roulette. We have beginning blackjack, advanced blackjack, card counting, and we have the Baccarat classes. So all you have to do, guys, is you want to get more information about it, please just run over to platinumcraps.com and you can see all the information. So anyways, John's TV shows were really well received. And John, I also know you met, some higher ups. You met Donald Trump. And one of my favorite stories is the time you met Frank Sinatra and went to his birthday party. Can you just give us a little insight on how you met Frank Sinatra?
Yeah. Well, in my day, Frank Sinatra was the king. But I just want to say something about Gary. I mean, he just talked about my books. Forget about my books. There are some of you who are dice setters. If you're a dice setter, and I am not, but I've read Gary's book. I got 2 of his copies, Platinum Craps. He talks about dice setting. I'll tell you right up front, I am not a dice setter. I am not a dice setter because I never touch the dice. I don't throw the dice when I'm a right better, and actually I don't throw it when I'm a wrong better. But I read Gary's book. It's called Platinum Craps. Now, he did not tell me to say this. He'll probably yell at me tomorrow when we talk. But let me tell you something. I read the book on how you be a dice setter. I am not. But let me tell you something for you dice setters. Read Platinum Craps. You're going to find out how you can have the best edge of making a particular number, which is, of course, 6 and 8. 5 ways to make a 6, 5 ways to make an 8. So they're the 2 numbers that can be made the most number of ways. And Gary shows you how to hold a dice that gives you a better edge. And now you got to learn how to pick up the dice and set them the way he sets them, and he tells you that in Platinum Craps, how to get the 6 and the 8. You don't want the 4. You don't want the 5 or the 9 or the 10. You want the 6 and the 8. But if you want to throw the dice and you're a dice setter, you've got to listen to what he says in his book, Platinum Craps. I know I'm going to get chewed out tomorrow because I used up some of our time by pushing his book. I am not a dice setter. I read his book. It's fantastic. But I can't be a dice setter because I refuse to throw the dice because I only want to bet big when the number is 6 or 8 at the point. And I can take odds behind the line, and I get true odds behind the line, even though I don't even have a bet on the pass line. We'll go to Frank Sinatra's party. I had my own TV show for 20 years, and I had this knockout. You guys who are as evil as I am know what I'm talking about as a knockout as my host. But when I went out to Vegas, I didn't have the girl who was with me on my show. She wanted to be a gambler, and the show was ranked #1. She used to date Frank Sinatra. This girl
Who did?
we use as our hostess. She dated Sinatra, and Sinatra always brought all his girlfriends from the past to his birthday
Exactly.
party. So when he was 60 years old, she was working for me out in Vegas doing a couple of shows. And she got invited to Frank Sinatra's 60th birthday party. It was quite a few years ago, obviously. Anyway, I went there, and all of his crowd was there. What do you call it? Jack Benny, Will Chamberlain was there, the basketball player. Bob Hope was there. Bing Crosby was there. They were all there at Sinatra's party. Well, anyway, Sinatra, when he came, I asked, "Where is Sinatra?" I mean, the party's been going on for an hour and a half, and she pointed to a room. She said, well, "He's busy in that room." I said, "Oh, okay." So about an hour later, they served the food, and Sinatra come out of the room, smoking a cigarette, and he looks around the table, looks around the room. There's about 350 people there. Let me tell you about Sinatra, because a lot of you people said, "Oh, he's a real crumb," because he's connected to the mob, which he was. The word is, and Sinatra had more connections than an electric train. He went around to every single solitary table that was there. There had to be at least 60 tables. Sinatra himself went around. All his cronies were on the other side. Dean Martin and Harry Belafonte and what's his name? The guy that insulted everybody. I forget.
Don Rickles.
Who is,
Don Rickles.
Oh,
Don Rickles. Rickles was there, and they were a scream. We were getting a show for nothing. Sinatra went to every single solitary table, kissed every girl at the table, and shook hands with every guy that took the time to go to his birthday party. And eventually he came to us. And on my left-hand side was a table with Joe Pepitone, the first baseman of the Yankees, was there, and Guy Madison, a handsome movie star, and there was this redhead. And they were both trying to make her. And I could hear Pepitone talk, and then, so I had this girl who was my hostess sitting there, and we waited for Sinatra to go to every table. He came to and he said, what was her name? Leslie. Leslie, boy, it's so good to see you again, and boy, we used to have a good time, and he kissed her, of course, a little too long for my taste, but who's counting? And then she said, "This is my friend Sean Patrick." He didn't know who I was. And he said, "Oh, good to have you here." He said, "Where did you get into that food?" So he went back to his cronies. Each of them took a turn to come up and do their thing. Like Don Rickles was a scream. The best one of all was Little, the guy who imitates people. He imitated almost every one of the stars who were at that table. And Sinatra just sat there, and they brought out a buffet. Oh, my God, it was a fantastic buffet. But all this stuff about Sinatra being a nasty guy and a cocky guy, I know he became famous and eventually became an actor, but he was fantastic. But anyway, after everybody did their thing, Rich Little stole the show, as far as I'm concerned. He imitated everybody at the table, Jack Benny and Dean Martin. He imitated them. If you close your eyes, you think it was them. Anyway, Sinatra was ready to, I don't know, whatever he was going to do, but he comes out and he looks around the room. Now, down where I was of bars around, he spotted this redhead who was sitting in between Joe Pepitone and Guy Madison. And he looked around, took a drag on his cigarette, and he says, "Hey, Red, come here." She got up from sitting between poor Pepitone and Guy Madison, walked over to him, and walked into the room. And he turned around and he gave, the okay sign, went into the room, and never saw him again at his birthday party. But all this stuff, I mean, if you see some of these guys, I mean, they're regular guys. Don Little, the guy who imitates people, he was a scream. I mean, he did Johnny Carson, and he didn't leave anything out. And somebody dropped some coins on the table from that group, and Jack Benny come out. He played a cheap guy on his show, the Jack Benny Show, for you guys that do remember. But Jack Benny was always the cheapest guy. He wouldn't spend a nickel. He wouldn't spend a nickel to ride a bus. It looked till he got a free pass. But anyway, somebody dropped a whole bunch of coins, one of the guys in the group, and Jack Benny actually got out of his table, got down on his hands and knees, and was crawling around looking for the money. I mean, these guys are screams. They ad-lib everything. And I just wanted to share with you, these guys are painted as, above the... No, they're not. And there was one girl there, I forget her name. She used to play with the Fugitive. Who was the Fugitive, Gary?
David Jansen.
David Jansen. She was on his show, The Fugitive, about 6 times. I fell in love. I mean, I forget her name, but boy, oh boy, she was sitting over there with them. And of course, they did an act on her. But these celebrities, they're regular people. And I'm telling you, read Gary's book. He talks about these different people. And he talks about you people that want to become dice setters. I do not dice set. So you listen to a guy who doesn't do what he's telling you to do. I'm not telling you to dice set, but if you do dice set, read Platinum Craps, and I wasn't supposed to say that.
Well, thanks a lot, John. In fact, you know what? We're talking about old school stories. When I was a little kid, they used to have these carnivals around. Let me come in over here. And they used to have this Catholic bazaar. It was called this Feast of the Assumption in Cleveland, Ohio. And Cleveland was a connected city. So all these Italians went to this feast. It was in August. And they had this big table. It was called the over-under. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's a big, long table. It just has over, it has under, and in the middle it has any 7. So you can bet a flat bet on the under, you can bet a flat bet on the over, and the any 7 paid, I think, 4-1. Well, what we would do is, there's an old shot in John Scarney's book, and John Patrick was a real friend of John Scarney. He taught me a slide shot when I was 15. And what it is you hook one of the die around your finger, then you take the other die and you just slide it down the table. So I would tell my girlfriend, all right, listen, if you see the first die is a 1, I want you to say bet the under. Because I would let her bet. We had this thing worked out because I wanted her to get into the action. I told her if the number was a 6, I want you to bet the over, and I'll throw the dice. So she would see that the 1 was standing on top, so I would take the dice, she'd bet the under, we would just slide the dice down the table. Well, that one went off, and 9 out of 10 times, 5 out of 6, you'd win. The only way you could lose is with a 7. If the 6 was on top, I'd say bet the over. We take the dice, slide them down the table. There's a 9, it's the over. And these guys would really have these tables slippery because they wanted you to just roll them down random. But by doing the slide shot, we would win a lot of money. Now, we were kids, so we were playing maybe $4 or $5 a hand. After 3 or 4 hands, because these guys were old school, they didn't like to lose. They had the big cigars. They were old school. We'd just get out, and we go to the rest of the carnival, and if we had $20, $25 in our pocket, you could buy these giant sandwiches for $1 back in the day, and these women made them special. They were real sausage, real meatballs, handmade. You could play the games for 25 cents a game. I mean, your whole night was, you could do your whole night for $20, $25. So we'd always go to that game first. And one of the more interesting ways that I got into, I guess it was kind of dice setting back in the day, but it was called the slide shot. Okay. In fact, I heard a story that there was a guy downtown, he was playing, and he was shooting the dice. Now, in COVID days, they would have red dice and green dice. So if you picked up the red dice and you threw them down a table and the green dice came out, they would get a little upset. Then you'd have to pick up the green dice, shake them, and get the red dice back into the game. Well, downtown there was a story once where a guy threw out the dice and 3 dice came out of his hand, and they were all 6s. All 6s. And he looked at the dealers and he said, "Dealers, gentlemen, my point is hard 18. And they said, "Sir, can we talk to you in the back a little bit?" So they took him off because you're not allowed to throw 3 dice down the table, and they were all 6s. It was hard 18. So that's one of the stories that happened to me when I first started. I did a show with David Carlton. I told people how I got to see Frank Sinatra because I was from Cleveland, and Caesar's Palace was a connected casino. And what I did was I called up the gentleman from Caesar's Palace. I got his phone number. Somebody from the union, the musicians union, told me to call. I said, "All right, I'll call." And he got us seats for Frank. I had to pay for the tickets. But back in the day, if you didn't know somebody, you'd be sitting out in the parking lot. Well, they sat us, back in the day, they had these really long tables. And if you look at old pictures of Vegas and the shows, you'll see these long, long tables where they sat 8 to 10 couples. Excuse me. Well, they sat us next to a bunch of gentlemen who originally were from Cleveland and Youngstown. That was another connected city. And they asked us, what we wanted for dinner, and you only got fish or chicken back in the day. He said, "You'll eat with us off the menu." And they started bringing out lasagna and eggplant and veal parmesan and all this stuff that nobody else had. And at the end of the day, at the end of the show, I reached in my pocket to say, "Thank you, sir. We really enjoyed meeting you and your friends." And my girlfriend was in shock. She said, "Who are all these people?" I said, "How much do we owe you for our part of the meal?" And he looked at me with a look that would kill. He said, "Listen, kid, we don't get a bill here. We just signed for it. Have a nice night." And that's how we met. That's how we saw Frank Sinatra in Vegas. So I caught the very, very, very tail end of that Rat Pack era. This is late 60s, early 70s. But Dean was here, Frank was here, we saw Sammy. And dollar for dollar, the best shows in town, and I'm sure John will agree with this, were the lounge shows. The lounge shows were phenomenal because we didn't have a lot of money. You go in there for 1, maybe 2 drinks and see phenomenal groups. The Righteous Brothers, Ike and Tina Turner, all the Motown acts started out as lounge shows. Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders, that's for you musicians. So anyways, there's some old shows, old stories. John, we have a couple questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to them all, but let's see here. Let's see. There's a couple that are dice setting. Here, Miss Andrea, you read this. Read it out for John.
So John, we have a skill and luck. They want to know your favorite casinos.
Yeah. Did you have any casinos back in the day that you liked playing?
Or even now, anything you've heard of now, like back in the day, like Riviera, whatever. Because I did Crazy Girls at the Riviera. Hello. Anyway, Amy Hoodle. So John, back in the day, what was your favorite casino? And then what's your favorite casino now that you've heard of in Vegas? Any rumors that's the better casinos?
Well, you might not like the answer because there's some beautiful casinos out there on the Strip. But I'm a downtowner. I'm not a high roller, but I play every day, every single solitary day, and I play downtown. And they're not nowhere near the beautiful casinos that are on the Strip. On the Strip. But when they come out with this game called Pai Gow Poker, it was a small, I think it was the Imperial Casino, and I went in there all the time. They had good-looking waitresses, but it was not a big casino, So, but they stayed open all night. I would go there. And then on my way home at 5 o'clock in the morning, I used to go to an all-night supermarket. And they always had a dozen of donuts ready for me because I got them every night. But when I first started out, I didn't have any money. I'd be broke. And I used to go to the garbage, in the bars, they would throw all their bottles out. Well, they would throw out Hires root beer, Huffman soda, the Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Hires root beer, and I'd put them in a box and take them to a store and turn them in. Sometimes I get, $2 worth of bottles, and I always had a place to go to, and I would always buy something there, but he would turn in my bottles and give me cash, and that's how I get back into another game. And it's just there's so many stories in the background of I'll tell you, one of the guys who gambled a lot, if you ever watched The Odd Couple, the original Odd Couple, Gary, you got to help me again here. What was the name of the guy that played the sloppy guy?
He was a big horse player. His name was Jack Klugman.
Right, that's it. Klugman. But he's a gambler.
Yeah.
And he used to play poker with us. And I'll tell you, he was a scream. I mean, he could ad-lib anything. These guys have so much talent, and they're not. One night, this is not a good story. Frank Sinatra and his crew, his hangers-on, were walking through the casino, and he had a part ownership in it. Sinatra did, along with Dean Martin. And he walked up to this table, and his friend was playing and losing money. And he had he stood in back of this friend of his. Now, I was working at the Sands, but not that night. But I knew this is the story that one of the dealers told me that happened. Sinatra saw that his friend was losing about $1,000. So Sinatra himself, he was part owner of the Sands, he went behind the table, and he told the dealer to move. Well, the dealer didn't, what was he going to do? He moved, and Sinatra would say, okay, what are you going to play? It was blackjack. And suppose the guy had 16, and Sinatra gave him a card. It was a 6 when he broke. So he threw that card away. He said, then he gave him another card. It was a king. He broke. And he'd keep giving him a card until he got maybe 18 or 19, and the guy won his $1,000 back. And when he got his $1,000 back, because Sinatra never let him lose, he walked away. Well, when the owners come in the next day and heard about it, the dealer got fired, and the pit boss got fired because Sinatra went behind the counter, and nobody had the guts to tell him not to do that. But he was just trying to get his friend's money back. And Kluger was the same kind of guy. He was so wild, and he was just like he was on the show. Who did he play with, Gary?
He was. That was Tony Randall was the other gentleman.
That's right. Tony Randall played the nice guy.
Yeah, Oscar and Felix.
I don't have any stories to tell about him, but I could tell you some stories about Klugman. Had a beautiful wife, but he was a lot crazier than he acted on the scene. I just wanted to throw that out to you. The things that happen behind the scenes are more interesting than the things that you see, up front, or they tell you on these, movie ads. But
of course.
So go ahead, give me a question.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I told people earlier we were going to give a giveaway because it's Christmas. By the way, you guys get 10% of all the super systems if you order a super system on the website, platinumcraps.com. The dice setting cards, they're little treasures, guys. I know guys that put them in their rack because they give you all the numbers on top, 2 through 12. All the ways you can make those numbers. Remember, for the people that have seen our other shows, there's 3 ways for the 6, there's 3 ways for the 8, there's 2 ways for the 4, 5, 9, and 10, and 2 ways for the 7. But you got to know which set to use. On the don't side, there's 4 ways for the 7 or winning your case, only 1 way for the 4, 6, 8, and 10, and 0 ways for the 5 and 9 if you set the dice correctly. So these cards have all the do sets on the first side with all your inside access numbers. You turn it over, it's got the sets to set your don't point, and then the 2 sets to 7 out. So, Miss Andre, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll the dice. We're going to go to the table. We're at the Platinum Craps table. I'm going to roll the dice twice, guys, and we're going to add up whatever the dice roll, the numbers. And then I'm going to have Miss Andre, don't start with the Garrison. That's just the intro. Start with skill and luck, and we're going to count down how many comments or questions or whatever is on the board. And whoever is that particular number will win the dice setting cards, and we'll mail them out to you. So here we go.
So we're not going to count you.
Yeah, we're not going to count me, so you can take it up to the top. But let's see what we have. The first roll is a 8. So 8 plus, we got to roll it again. 8 plus 7. So what's 8 plus 7?
15.
15. So count down 15 comments or questions starting.
3.
And Miss Andre will tell us who that is. And then all you have to do is email us your name and phone number.
Dice Grinders!
Dice Grinders. All right, Dice Grinders. Round of applause for Dice Grinders. All right, so I don't really know Dice Grinders' real name. This was
Let's
the
count that.
this was the 15th comment
Let me count that
on the board. So, Dice Grinder, here's what we need you to do. Let's come back. I need you to go to our not our website, our email, if I can find that. It's garrisoncraps@gmail.com. And if anybody has any other questions or they want to call us, garrisoncraps@gmail.com. Our phone number is 702-487-5223. You can call me tomorrow. We can talk on the phone. I need your full name, your address, zip code, etc. Hopefully you have the Platinum Craps book, because that'll really help explain the dice setting cards. And I think you were the one that said, I need I'm looking for a sale. Well, now's your time.
You're in luck.
Yeah, you're in luck. If you get the super system, we're going to take 10% off the whole order. So anyways, you won 5 dice setting cards. So round of applause for Dice Grinder. All right. Email us, guys. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the show. I want to thank, again, everybody that's been with us for the year. All the people that have been on Facebook and YouTube, and, all the people that have been new members of the Platinum Craps Super System. We may go on the road next year. I'm talking to some people who want to take a dice seminar on the road. So we may go into some of these, it doesn't have to always be the big cities. I mean, I do get calls and emails from Atlantic City. Garrison, when are you coming to Atlantic City? One gentleman said, please come to Canada, but that's a little too far away. But we may take it on the road, do a Platinum Craps class, and we'll have the book and the flash drive and all that on video, on computer. We can put it up on a screen, teach you. Do a dice setting seminar. I'm talking to some people that are, really, really deep into dice setting and seminars. And we may go on the road for a weekend or two and, come to some cities, because the average person is about an hour to 90 minutes away from a casino. There's only 2 states that don't have gambling, and that's Hawaii and Utah. Utah because of the Mormons, but I think Hawaii may get a casino sometime on the Big Island. But everybody else now is about an hour and away. So, John, we want to thank you for being with us this whole year. We're going to hopefully see you next year. Andy and I are going to...
Sing happy birthday.
We're gonna. Oh yeah, happy birthday, John.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you.
All right, more on that later. But we're gonna sign off. Stick around.
Right, Garrett, can I ask you one question?
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say to any of the viewers
Yes.
and members?
Yeah,
before?
it's something I want to say. It's very important.
Go ahead.
Andrea,
Yes.
when Gary goes on the road next year, are you coming with him?
If we do this show, yes. We'll bring the show along.
Then I'll go and I'll find you. Like if you're in Chicago, I'll come to Chicago. not to see the show, but to see you.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
But you got to let me know if you're going to be there.
John hasn't lost a touch, guys.
Oh yes, if
He's
he brings
still-
the show
It's
on the
just,
road.
I don't care if I'm 91 years old and you're 19. It
Older than
doesn't matter.
that,
I'm
thank
still
God.
going to drive that far to see you because you make Gary's show. Gary's good. Did you read his book, Platinum Crops?
She's just getting into the game.
Actually, oh my God, you didn't give me a free book.
Yeah, well,
Garrison.
it's Christmas. Don't worry.
Yeah, where's my book? Because I want to read it. I need to make some money. Come on.
She's just getting into. Hey, John, maybe we'll come to Florida. There's some
Hey,
casinos
yeah,
in Florida, make
for
it a
sure.
little easier for you. But
Well, you can wear your
But you
bikini.
go ahead.
Yes, and you can wear your
Hard Rock
bikini
Casinos
there.
here.
I know.
But Gary, I don't want to see you. I've known you for 20 years. I don't want to see you. I want to see Miss Andrea.
I got it, John. By the way, we've known each other since the '70s. So, believe it or not, it's close to
Hey.
50 years, John. Do you believe
50
it?
years. We've
50
known each
years.
other for 50 years.
Man.
And I
I was
enjoy
still in the
listening
stars
to you.
and
I
the
enjoy reading your books. And I enjoy Andrea being on the show.
Oh, thank
Well,
you.
thank you
You're
for
awesome.
being a guest, John, and thank you again
Oh,
for writing
real
the
quick, before we go. I'd love everybody. Thank y'all so much. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah. Everyone that's writing in, it was really fun to watch everybody. I'm learning a lot. But real quick, so John, my friend works at Laugh Factory, and Rich Little still he performs there. He's still performing at the Laugh Factory
Wow.
here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Rich
He's still performing like
Rich
tonight.
Little's still out. He's
Like
still around.
tonight, yeah.
So,
He's still there? He's still
Yes.
around?
yeah, he's still around.
He's still performing every night, I think, except for Mondays or something.
All right, so stick around, John. We're just going to say goodbye. Thank all the players. Remember, one person got 5 dice setting cards. If you guys want to get the super system and get a discount, go to platinumcraps.com. Guys, we'll see you in 2023. And Miss Andrea, what is the one thing we tell all of our students and all of our players and everybody that goes to the casino? What's the one thing we wish them?
Good luck at the
Good
table!
luck at the tables, guys. Have a great New Year's. Oh, mine didn't work. All right, well, here.
Oh my God, that means gonna be in
We'll see you
2023. I'm
for
gonna
New
win gambling.
Where's the horn? I don't have my horn, but anyways, take a lot of trips to the casino. I'm gonna put John Patrick's email on our Platinum Craps book. You can send him a birthday wish. And John, we wish you the best.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you, and everybody says hello. And guys, have a great holiday season. We'll see you next time. Good luck at the tables.